Hey, this is Kirk.
And this is Byrd, the Kirk and Byrd Show. We are pleased to have with us Kelley. Is it what do you want to go by? Is it Kelley Rene or is it you're an author? What do you like to go by? I don't know, real name, book. I mean,
that is a real name.
That is. I don't know. What is that? Your maiden name?
Kelley Rene is my first and middle name. That is my pen name.
Oh, so, perfect.
Yeah.
And your pen name.
Yeah.
Kelley Rene. She's a Phantom and a Hokie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I am a Hokie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right.
I gotta make sure my hair looks good. So I'm not
hey, it's ladies' night. Oh, yes, it's ladies' night. All right. So we are pleased to have my friend of 41 years, almost like to the month.
Only 39. What are you talking about?
Do that.
Right.
Do that.
Right. So Kelley Rene Walker Daniels as a guest. So Kelley is a Phoebus Phantom, and she's a Virginia Tech Hokie. She is a published author, and we're going to have a great time tonight talking to Kelley. For all of our female viewers out there, this is almost going to be completely non-sports, but we're going to have some sports thrown in there. So it's going to be an opportunity. Kelley's going to talk about her books, you know, what has compelled her to write, the joy that she gets from it, some of the things that have inspired her. And we're also going to go into style. We're going to have a lot of fun. So before we start
we're going to talk about growing up in Hampton, VA. Like that,
yeah, we'll talk about that.
Had to mold and shape you to be the great author and person that you are.
She went to Jane H. Bryant and Moton, and she's got a story to tell, so we're not going to steal her fire. But we are the Kirk and Byrd BYRD show. Our main platform, because you'll want to see us for our personalities, is YouTube, and that'll be on the screen. Just, you know, when you're watching this video, hit subscribe and the bell icon. And if you Google us, all the platforms, we're on Audible, we're on Spotify, we're on all those. You can listen to us in the car, which is where I'm listening to a lot of my books. Now that we've done that, I told Rusty before we got on, don't argue with her. You'll lose the argument. So the boss is here. Kelley Rene Walker, my beautiful, lovely friend. Don't ever tell her husband he looks nice in front of her. We got a story behind that. But Kelley, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about, you know, how we all circle. We all graduated the same year, but introduce yourself and bring us up. We want to talk about your passion, which is your writing, and get into that. And as we do that, we will overlay your website and any other things that'll be automatic. All right, Kelley?
Yeah, thanks. I'm thrilled to be here. It's quite the honor. So thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
You are welcome.
So my name is Kelley Rene. I am from the little town of Hampton, Virginia. Did go to Jane H. Bryant and Moton and Phoebus High School. Graduated from Virginia Tech with the love of my life. And life just kind of took us from there all over the world. I've had the incredible thrill to live and travel to some pretty exotic places. And I happen to live now in Panama City Beach, Florida, and absolutely love it. And what's so funny about that is, as a little girl growing up in Hampton, I remember thinking, as soon as I get older, I am moving away from here. You guys can't tell because I pulled all my hair up, but my hair was a huge afro growing up in Hampton because the humidity was so bad. And I said,
she had a natural curl.
Yeah. Yeah. And I said, I am moving away from this place. And I did. And now I live back at the beach. But there's something about going back to a place that makes you feel like home. And it feels like home here. And I just love that. So I wanted to tell that little story because it just cracks me up that's what I remember of the humidity.
Oh, cool. Okay.
That's about 20% of their income. The other 80% is he's a male model for a good-looking 50s guys. So
I can tell he's going to get quite the chuckle out of this.
Yeah. So, Kelley, your travel and Steve working for the Department of Defense. Steve got an architecture degree from Virginia Tech. And by the way, that's a 5-year program. It's extremely challenging. So hats off to Steve. And I believe he's building one of the biggest medical facilities in DOD ever down there. But that's what's taking you across the world, Europe, other places. And that's impacted a lot of your stories, some which are completely fiction, some are based on real life situations. So before we get into your books, let's just point out it's kelleyrene.com, and that's Kelley. It's going to go across the screen. I don't know why I'm spelling it, but it's Rene. Little different. I typed in Renee with the double E and it did not work. So we're going to put that there. And Kelley, why don't you talk about where you can get the books, the Kindle, you get them on Amazon. Go ahead and talk about that. And then let's transition, let you just roll right into, how you got to this place.
You got started. Yeah, how you got started writing.
Okay, great. So all of my books are available on Amazon. I'm a self-published author, which I happen to absolutely love because I am able to stay in control of what I'm doing, what I write, what my book covers look like, and so forth. I have a team that I work with, a great team who make me look really good. So big shout out to all of those who help me in this effort. So kelleyrene.com. I hope that you will check it out. So my 3 books. So Rusty, you have Saving Sabina. This is actually my first book that I put out there. And funny story, I'm on TikTok at I am the letter M, Kelley Rene. My very first TikTok, I enacted how I felt when I first published or sent Saving Sabina out to my beta readers. I literally was so terrified of someone else reading my stories and hating them that I went into my closet and hid amongst all of my clothes. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to hate it. They're going to hate it. They're going to hate it. And of course they didn't hate it. They gave some very good feedback, sent it off to my editor. She gave some really good feedback and made some great edits, and the book is out there. And I hear often how much people love it because these stories are inspired by true events. Saving Sabina, I experienced that. My family were in a restaurant in London and I met Sabina in the restroom. Now I have 5 kids, and at the time my kids were younger and I was distracted with them. I'm in a foreign country. So it is inspired by true events because I met her. The guys, her pimps, were actually upstairs trying to get to her, but I didn't understand what was going on because, I was distracted, mom of 5. So the story is inspired. And I wanted to give her a voice. Saving Sabina, Romanian Runaway, and Camila, those are all based on true stories. And those main characters in the books are true people, and I wanted to tell their story. That's why I published these books.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Now, before you decided to go down this path, what were you shared with me before we went on, like one of your first books that was not published? When did you get it in your mind that you wanted to do this, and then talk about that gap between actually executing and doing it? And that's the great thing about getting our age, and a lot of people are starting to figure out, hey, this is what I really want to do. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I remember as a little girl walking around with whatever I could carry, a little microphone, with a little notepad and a pen, writing down. I thought I would be a journalist. I always would ask people questions and act like I was on some news broadcast. And it wasn't until 6th grade at Moten when the librarian invited me to be a part of her Young Authors Club. And oh man, I was in heaven. When I found out that we were going to be writing our own stories and publishing them ourselves, there was nothing else more important to me at that time. And as a part of that program, we were invited to attend the Young Authors Conference at then Hampton Institute. It's now Hampton University there in Hampton, Virginia.
We're old like that, by the way.
I know.
HI.
I know. I'm like telling my age all over the place. So I took the liberty of going and digging up this book. I have no idea how I even held on to this thing. Now I'm very.
That's good handwriting for a 6th grader.
I'm a 6th grader. I got constant grant to sign my book. And I even wrote down over here the name of the librarian, the conference. It's at Hampton Institute, my group. No, I mean, even back then I was very detail oriented. So I had a pretty good chuckle at myself. But I took this book, sat on the front row of the very first session. And when the author giving that speech said, somebody hand me their book. And of course I was on the front row, so I handed it off to him, and he flips through it and he's talking and he says, "You will never be an author."
Woo!
He says, "You will never be a writer." That's what he said. "You will never be a writer." Now, my adult mind knows that he was probably saying something like, "You will never be a writer if you don't learn to write dynamic characters or connect your plot with your scene with da 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 da." He was probably thinking that he was encouraging me, but all I heard was, "You will never be a writer." And those words handicapped me for my entire life. Every single time I sat down to write, I couldn't do it. Everybody talks about writer's block. But in my mind, I was just such a failure from the outset. I was never going to be a writer. And I believe that lie. Now, I don't want to, it was an incredible opportunity. And I have the book to prove it. And I look at this book and that story inspires me. And I don't want to give everything away because I got a whole list of questions here. And that story I'm going to fill in later on. But when I got to be 39 plus 13, or 10 or whatever it was years later, and life kicked in and I began to realize, if I don't write these stories, I'm literally going to implode. It was like this desire, this need to write was so burning inside of me. I had to do it. It didn't matter if people loved it. It didn't matter if no one ever read it. It didn't matter what came of it. I had to get the words out on paper. And that's really what forced me to start writing.
That's
Kelley, let me ask you, what did you major in at Virginia Tech?
Accounting.
Okay, I didn't know if you majored in any journalism or anything like that, or English.
Okay, so that's funny because I transferred in from Thomas Nelson Community College. I worked at, oh my gosh, GE Capital. It used to be Montgomery Wards as a
Montgomery Wards.
I was a debt collector, one of the worst jobs in the world, but it paid all of my tuition, my gas, everything to go to Thomas Nelson, paid for my tuition and buy books, everything. And then I transferred into Virginia Tech as a English major. Now, let me tell you,
okay,
I got to my first English class and I don't know where the professor went, but we had some substitute for some reason. And she gave me feedback on one of my stories. And I was like, oh no, I'm done. And I had done an assessment. And in that assessment said, oh, you might be good for accounting. I was like, I'm out of here. I'm not listening to this. I liked what I had written and she did not. And she tore me up in the class, and I was like, no, I'm out.
Kelley,
so I switched to accounting.
What I want you to do is the name of the person that told you in 6th grade, and that person.
That's what I was thinking too.
Say in your face,
I'm not bitter, so I'm not saying that for any negative reason. What I want to say, what I want viewers to hear from that is, if you are struggling with your dream, if you feel like your life passion, your purpose has somehow left you behind, it is not too late. If you are still breathing, it is not too late. And I encourage you to pursue your passion. For whatever reason, things happen to us in life. And I guarantee you, if I knew the name of that person who said those words to me back in 6th grade at Hampton Institute, they would say, oh my gosh, I never said that. That's not what I meant. Yada, yada. I'm sure there is a really good explanation, but that's what I heard. And it just goes to show how powerful words are. So I always want to make sure that what I'm saying and what I'm writing is making a positive impact on people. Words hurt. Words lift people up. Words are important.
Mm-hmm. I have a pretty vivid memory. Remember the old, was it WHCS, Hampton City Schools?
Yeah.
They ended up recording all the games and all that. A.G. Womble did the sports.
A.G. Womble.
Yep. Kelley, they recorded you interviewing some people, like in a talk show host. I remember watching that, and I said, I said this inside of my head. And I'm sure I said it to you back then. Yeah. I said, she is absolutely a natural. Katie Kirk or, Oprah Winfrey, she is just, and the people there were all a little, uptight, and she was just such a natural. So, journalism, broadcasting, hey, we're giving it a shot at this age, and this technology gives us an opportunity for that. So
that's what I was going to say. Go ahead. Yeah, no, I was going to say, Kelley, you talk about, later in life, within the last couple of years, like doing what you always, like I've had friends for years tell me, Rusty, you should have been in, like my brother who played at football at Virginia Tech and knows a lot about sports, but he'll be like, oh, he'll call me and say, what's your thought on this? What's your thought on this? And I've had friends for years say, Rusty, like you should have been, Michael Wilbon, a sports reporter, like, and then, but now I'm doing, and it's just something. I'm blessed to have reconnected with Kirk and doing this. It just gives me so much, and it's not work. It's just fun.
Joy. I've been looking forward to it all day.
Yeah. And so to hear you say that, and then the other thing I would say is absolutely. Now, I don't necessarily. I'll be honest. I think Kirk was kind of overplaying you being looking professional because you were a nervous wreck, and we had to get you the courage to speak. Before this, I was like, you looked like you were going to cry. You were very quiet, and holds back. And I was like, Kelley, it's going to be okay. I'm just
everybody
joking.
Who knows that is not true. Okay, we'll go with that.
No, Kelley, right off the bat, you were like, I got this. Yeah. No, great. That is great. So. Yeah, and so it may not be too late to even do that. Get you in front of that camera.
It's funny you remember that because I remember those days and thinking, this is it. This is what I want to do. And somehow again, and this is probably something in me, something in my personality. I take things maybe a little too personal or something. But I remember feeling the rejection when they stopped inviting me to be the interviewer for some of our classmates. And to me, that said, you're not good enough, or, this is not cut out for you, which is unfortunate. I have no idea why. Maybe they stopped the program. Maybe they just wanted to give other kids the opportunity. I'm sure that there are some very valid reasons why they were doing what they were doing, but something about my personality, it felt like rejection. And that probably came from the way that I was raised, just, and my personality and so forth. Right. But it is what it is. And at any time, I'm a believer that we can stop where we are and pivot in a different direction, especially as we get older and maturity kicks in and we realize I'm in control of my own destiny. I can do this.
Yep.
Great.
That's a good point. I was just thinking about Kelley was Miss Phoebus in 1986. And in 1985, Laura Wampler, who is my second cousin with the Kickintan, she was Miss Phoebus. And the very first Miss Phoebus was my second cousin, Terry Hale, who's now Terry Vyers. Yeah. We got a lot of history. So she was Miss Phoebus. So I brought it up on purpose, though, because you've always been very confident. We're very similar in that we're very expressive. We're overts. We love to talk, and we're good communicators. But winning a beauty pageant. And by the way, I remember the girls in that pageant. There were a lot of good-looking women or girls, whatever, and you won that. So it's kind of a dichotomy, like when people, of all walks of life, we you know, we may be confident. I think of myself, but there's always that little voice. I don't know of any human being that doesn't have a little voice saying, you can't do this. You're not worthy of this. And I may display something different. So, so why don't we talk about the transition of, you're doing this. You've got books published. You've got people writing reviews, listening to them, in their cars. I like to read physical books, but I'm like, I got to start listening to them.
That was one of our questions, but since you brought it up right now, and we were going to get to this in a bit, but Kelley, what are your thoughts on reading books versus audio books? Because I am, I listen to books because I could do other things, but I've never been into just reading. But finding audio books have just been great for me. But do you have a preference?
I love any and all books. Now, Kirk will probably attest to this because he's been to my house before, but I actually have, and I don't know, maybe I don't want to say this, I have a storage unit full of books that my husband is determined that he's going to help me clean out. But I can't part with my books. I just love them.
I have all my books in storage. Yep.
Yeah. So I typically listen to a book when I'm driving in the car, when I'm washing the dishes, when I'm doing anything crocheting. That's my other love. I currently have a physical book that when I just need to wind down, sit in bed or on the sofa and just, calm my mind or my spirit, I read a physical book. So I do all those things. Usually I have 2, 3, 4 books going at any given time, a couple of audio, I have a Kindle that if you see me on the beach, I'm reading a book on my Kindle. So yeah, all of them.
Right.
My wife is like, if you're not reading it, it doesn't count. And she just finished she's in the school system. And so she's been out of school 2 or 3 weeks. It's her summer. And she just finished this morning her 3rd book. I went downstairs and she goes, I finished. And I'm like, you're reading all these books. And she doesn't give me credit. I just finished Sweetness, the Walter Payton book, and because he's my favorite player, but I listened to it, and she's like, that doesn't count. I'm like, it does for me. But anyway, I'm glad that. Cool.
As an educator, though, I can see that as a pet peeve for her, though, because you're really using all different parts of your brain when you're physically reading, and quite frankly, we need some more literacy advocacy for that reason. But hey, if you want to listen to a book, and I mean, you're still gaining wisdom, you're gaining something from that audio book, and if that's the only way you can do it, then do it that way.
Yeah. So now that you're doing it, and you're doing it professionally, and what I mean by professionally is that you're published and all these things. Let's talk about the passion, the dream to actually putting this together, and let's educate our viewers on, the work part of it. I mean, when you're expressing, but you've got all these things, you talked about your team. So, talk about how you do these books. Like, I've never written a book. So like how you bring them together and editing and all those things.
So look, the hardest part about writing a book is putting your butt in the chair and just doing the thing. And it's hard. And I'm going to give a little tip because I'm sure there are going to be some other writers on here who are dealing with the same thing. I have found a fantastic method. I enjoy the editing part of the writing. So what I've started to do is I have an app on my phone, and quite frankly, I don't even need a different app because you can use your phone. If you've got an iPhone, I'm sure Samsung has it too, and record yourself telling the story. So I now use my app, and as I get an inspiration, and this is kind of how it started, because a lot of times I'd be laying in bed, falling asleep. I'd be on the beach, some place where it was inconvenient to have a pen and paper or my laptop, and some download, some inspiration would hit me, and I would have to record it because otherwise I know in this old brain, I would forget it in 30 seconds. So I started just recording myself reminding myself really what this inspiration was. And then I was like, well, dang, I can be walking my dog and writing a book. I mean, how's that for multitasking?
Wow.
So I began to do some of these things to where now that's primarily what I do to write. I will tell myself the story. Now it's chock full of a mess. A lot of times I'm like, oh, dang, that didn't sound good. You know, and I'm laughing at myself. This person walking beside me is thinking I'm crazy. You know, my recordings are ridiculous, but I email myself the transcription. And then I go to town editing. And that's really where the work is. And let me tell you, if you think Stephen King or your favorite author does the work by himself, you're completely off track.
Well, my favorite's Kelley Rene, so she's telling me right now. So.
I'm telling you right now.
That's right.
The editing part is where the meat of the work is. Getting all of those elements of building the character. You got to have a character that people love. And if you don't have a character in the first, I would say in the first page, if the reader does not fall in love with your character, they're likely going to statistics show they're going to put your book down.
Right.
So there is so much work that goes in. I have a team of beta readers when I'm writing, and I think it's even close to, decent.
Yep.
I'll send it over there and say, hey, what do you notice? What kind of feedback can you give me on this story? And they're fantastic because they'll be like, hey, this kid's name changed from John to Bill halfway through your story. What happened? Oh, dang. Yeah, I didn't like that name, so I changed it. I didn't even notice that I didn't change it through the whole book. They give me all kinds of feedback on where I went wrong, what doesn't work. So the story that I did in Next Chapters Unleashed, the anthology, I gave that story to my daughter and said, hey, can you just give me some feedback on it? And she's like, nuh-uh, Mom, the ending, no, it does not work. Now, to be fair, it was an anthology. We had set the number of words, and I was the leader of
like mom, project. Like daughter. She gave gave that real feedback.
Exactly. She gave some really good feedback. She was like, that ending does not work. They're going to hate you for writing that. And I was like, oh, dang, really? Okay. Well, I didn't like it, but I was trying to stay within my 5,000 words. And I said, what do you recommend? And she told me what she recommended. I went back to the drawing board, and the ending aligns more with what she recommended than where I was going in the beginning. Oh, wow. So having a beta team, having great editors makes all the difference. That's where the real work is. And then marketing is a whole different animal.
Right. So I wanted to ask you a question about the 5 senses, because I know someone else who's writing books for the first time who used to be a sports writer, and he's writing fictional books that are based on sports. And we talked about, when you're escaping in a book. Now, movie, it's done for you. But the 5 senses, touch, sight, smell, all of those different things. I find my favorite writers for fiction. I love James Patterson, especially Cross, Alex Cross. I love John Grisham, who lives right down here in Charlottesville. And these guys are just so good of like putting you there. You could smell and how do you incorporate that into there? Because that's what like gets the reader, like they're there.
So look, Kirk, for me, I literally will go somewhere. If the setting is the beach, I'm going to sit at the beach. What does it feel like? In my story here again, there's the scene where she's sitting in the sand, and one of my beta readers said, man, you gave just enough detail to make me feel like I was sitting at the beach. So there's a balancing act there, because you don't want to tell your reader what to think, but because if they have already formulated something in their mind that is sitting well with them, but what you're describing is not working for them, then they're tuning you out, and they're going to start to just be like, oh, I don't like this. This isn't true. This isn't accurate. So you have to give just enough to whet their appetite,
or let them,
but and spark their imagination. And that's really the difference between reading a book and watching a movie. And that's why I think a lot of times we'll say, oh, the book was so much better.
So much better.
because the writer gives that leeway to the reader to develop in their mind. And that's why a lot of times I don't like putting what my characters look like on the front cover, because if it doesn't align with what the reader envisions that person to look like, well, then they might not like your book just because they didn't like what the person, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it is a balancing act there that you have to be so careful not to cross. And that's where your beta readers come in handy.
I was just getting ready to bring that up. I was just going to say, I was thinking this. A lot of times, like a popular book, I'll be like, this is what I pictured the main character, and I completely ignore what the author says. You know, whether if it's a 5'10" blonde-haired woman, I might have her, 5'5" brown hair, etc. I always laugh.
You always got that people, type, Kirk.
Hey! By the way, Rusty, Alex Cross. Okay, you know who he was in my mind? Alex Cross. Remember NYPD Blue? When Sipowicz got the really good-looking black guy who was really strong, muscular, that's Alex Cross. So when they put Perry, why is my mind going blank on the guy from Atlanta, the biggest star? Help me out here.
Oh, Tyler Perry?
Tyler Perry. When they put Tyler Perry as Alex Cross, I just ruined it. I wouldn't even watch the movie, but it's...
I heard the same thing about Jack Reacher. Tom Cruise played Jack Reacher. But if you read the books, no, they just came out with Jack Reacher on, I think it was either Netflix or Amazon Prime, and they had, the actor was more like what the book described. Tom Cruise is like 5'7", 5'8". The way the book wrote is this guy was this 6'3", 250-pound guy who was strong and like this. And then you look at Tom Cruise doing it, they just different. So when the series came out, the fans of the books were much more happy and pleased with that. And I would say this, Kelly, if you ever write a book about Kirk, do not put his real face on the cover, okay? Because you would ruin everybody.
Duly noted.
Rusty, I have the face
Do not
for the video.
Put his face.
You've got the face for radio, okay?
Okay, but if I did write about Kirk, I would use that photo that he has. That is a good-looking photo.
Oh, Kirk, show both of ours. Go change the back. No,
I can't change yours.
No, Kirk, do the other one with both of us. With the Kirk and Byrd.
I can't right now.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
I have another laptop.
Shaft, Rusty, sorry.
Yeah, those are both pretty sharp. You should have yours.
That's a great photo.
Yep. So, where do you see this going, Kelly? Like, 5-10 years. We're young. I feel young some days. I mean, you got plenty of time.
Glad you asked that.
All right.
Did I just interrupt you? I'm very sorry. He did say I'm going to take over the show, so I'm sorry.
Take it over.
So in this book, where we were just a group of us authors, were just like, hey, let's write an anthology. Anybody want to run it? Well, I'm big in Toastmasters. I needed a project to lead and blah, 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 blah. So I was like, I'll do it. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I will do it. And let me tell you, we worked for 9 months. And that is incredible to, from start to finish, get a group of 15 authors together, write the stories, edit them, do everything that goes into, have the cover design, yada, yada, and then produce the book all in 9 months. We had a fantastic time. And at the end of it, I was like, dang, that was fun. And I was good at that. I was really good. So I am in the process now of starting a little small indie publishing house. I really want to help people who say, and I get a lot of people who tell me, I've always wanted to write a book. I have no idea what to do. I don't know how to even get started, yada, yada. And I tend to give pointers, help them, edit if I can, whatever. A lot of people have helped me get to this point. So I always want to pay forward what help I've received. So this anthology, though, has been the catalyst for me to turn my love of writing into something a little bit more official. I don't know if I'll ever monetize it of any real value. But here I am talking negative. So let me rephrase that.
Why not?
I'm going to be a great small publishing house. How about that?
How about you're going to be bigger than Simon and Schuster?
All right.
So
you heard it here on the Kirk and Byrd show.
Yeah. So we'll do Daniels.
And
Hilliard,
when they make
Byrd.
a lifetime, when they make a lifetime movie of some of your books, can I just be in the background?
Absolutely.
Yep. Carly Simon is part of the Simon Schuster, whatever. So
really?
Yeah, Carly Simon. That's where she's from. But I was going to also say, this might be a little bit of a fun transition. You should write a book, a fictional book, based on our high school years and all the crazy stuff that we did. Like,
don't tell all our secrets.
No. Everything's fit for TV. You got to be able to tell your kids and your grandkids everything you say on here. I know I didn't have to tell her no F-bombs, but when we do sports, guys, we're like, no F-bombs. We'll let a SHIT slip, but we don't have to worry about that. So it's like, I think about the crazy things that we did. Like we used to have, and when we were down at Dan's wedding, I didn't remember this. We had a bonfire at the beach, and it was invitation only. We called it the Unforgettable Fire. We used to have scavenger hunts that, like, we didn't have fun. We didn't need all that stuff, man.
We made up our fun.
We did
when the
all
cops showed
of our
up,
stuff.
We were out.
Yeah.
That bonfire, right as
the
we were arriving.
The cops shut us down. Hey, Rusty.
I'm out.
The day before the last day of school, we went around and collected all this stuff. Remember the road dividers with the flashing lights? We put them all on the roof of the school at like 5 o'clock in the morning. If you've seen Phoebus High School, it's not easy to get on that roof. And we're all stoked.
Wow. We
come to school. Whoever gets there before us, it was all gone. We were bummed out about that. But we used to just do, the funny stuff. And I've often told my kids when they watch movies like The Breakfast Club, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, or the college movies, Animal House, real life was way better. Yeah. Way better. Those type of things. So I think you should write a book on that. And Rusty, I'll tell you, this is from out of the blue, but a trivia point. They had a house in South Lake, Kelly?
Mm-hmm.
South Lake, which is Dallas, basically. It's closer to Fort Worth.
Oh,
right?
My wife used to live around there.
They rented their house to the Jonas Brothers.
Oh, wait. That's getting a little too personal, Kirk.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't give the address out. Anyway. Just the Jonas Brothers. We're not going to say anything about it, but I thought that's pretty cool, man. I've never done anything like that. So, but yeah. So let's switch up a little bit. We always like to talk about, we're the same age.
No, we're not. I'm still 39 and holding.
There you go. Rusty's older. He's the oldest. He is the oldest, literally. But a little bit about growing up in Hampton. So. We all grew up in Hampton. Rusty was born at Mary Immaculate, the old one on Chesapeake Boulevard Avenue, whatever, going up. This is on the Newport News Line. Were you born in Hampton, Kelly?
Yes.
Hampton,
Riverside.
Dixie? Oh, you were born in Riverside. So you were born in Newport News. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Hampton, Newport News area, yeah.
So just give us your quick take on your experience there, how it's helped mold you, et cetera. It's a different place than the places that we are now and have been.
Yeah. So my childhood was very interesting, and I don't want to get too personal, but my mom was just really, really strict, and God love her. She had her ideas of what was important. And as a mom myself, I was very strict. So in no way do I want to disrespect her, but I was not allowed to leave my front yard. Literally. And Kirk, so when I went to Phoebus High School, I lived in that house right next door to the driving range.
Hold on. I'm sorry, Kelly. I was like, should I say that or not? Because does she still have people living there? Remember the driving school?
Yeah.
Rusty?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She lived in the house right next to it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, I have to point this out. When I was taking driver's ed and we had the cars, those big heavy metal clunkers. The girls' softball field was over to the side, and I was screaming at Terry Williams trying to get her attention, and I rear-ended the car in front of me. So, yeah, but she lived right next door to the driving. She lived. You lived on Ireland Street,
right?
So Phoebus was 100 Ireland Street. We won't give the number out, and then Tyrone Fields, our buddy Tyrone, Diane. Hello. Y'all better watch this and subscribe. But yeah, I mean, so we always talk about, there's a lot of, you talk about your mother being strict. We all had things going on. Rusty and I both are single parent. I had things going on, et cetera, et cetera. However, that sense of nostalgia, that comes into play, like, for some reason, I was looking for backgrounds, and I was looking at old pictures of the Coliseum Mall, going to the mall on Friday night in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, going to timeout for $3, Golden's Pizza, those type of things. And then for Rusty and I, going to those football games at Darling Stadium in 6th and 7th grade. And then was it you, Kelley? It was somebody I was talking to about High's Ice Cream.
Well, I remember High's Ice Cream from the little Buckrow Shopping Center. That was a treat for me to get to go there. I don't remember a conversation with you, but I definitely
remember Tony Kennedy, because High's actually started up here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, just a lot of memories like that. So
yeah, I remember the one time I was allowed to go to the skating rink right there on Pembroke
Plaza.
Avenue.
Oh yeah,
Plaza roller rink. I went.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't even know how, because I went like one time. That was the only time I was allowed to go. In the course of the evening, I skated. I'm pretty sure it was with Steve, but maybe it was with someone else. I'm pretty sure it was Steve. I'm holding hands with him. And the next day, I kid you not, somebody who had a crush on him, she got together a gaggle of girls. They followed me home, just yelling all kinds of terrible things, and they were going to beat me up. And I was terrified. And I was like, I only held his hand. I didn't do anything else. We weren't even dating at that time. So yeah, I could go on and on. So I don't know, but it was probably safer for me to stay in my front yard. But and then as a mom, when my kids would get mad because I wouldn't let them do something, I'd be like, hey, look, I wasn't allowed to leave my front yard, so I don't want to hear nothing. They couldn't argue with that.
Yep. Now, go ahead, Rusty.
Yeah, I just was, all those things. I know growing up in Hampton, Newport News helped mold and make what I am today, and some of the lifelong friends I've had from growing up there. But when in your time growing up there, did you have anything that you did for like extracurricular? Like, were you ever into sports? Like, sports can help make me kind of what I am. Was it reading? Was it writing? What was it growing up that you did?
That is a loaded question.
What?
Okay, so I am one of 10. There are a lot of kids in my family. So again, I don't want to shed a negative light. We were very poor. And my mom and dad did the best they could with what they had, with their resources. So my brother, Johnny Walker, he wanted to play football. And the only way my parents could afford that was for the rest of us not to get to do any kind of sports or anything. And my mom wasn't really keen on girls in sports. Again, she had a lot of very specific ideas. But what I loved was band. And I was first chair clarinet and concert band.
That's right.
First chair alto sax and jazz band. That was my thing. And I practiced. I did all the city tryouts, regional tryouts, got a whole bunch of awards somewhere, probably in my storage unit that I'm still holding on to.
I totally forgot about
the marching band. Were you in the marching band?
Marching band, yeah.
You guys had a great band.
We had a really good band.
A great band.
Yeah.
David Presley on drums. Michael Carruthers, wasn't he first trumpet?
Oh yeah.
And then
yeah.
what did Pat Coleman play?
Drums.
Pat played drums.
See,
You
that's what I wanted to get from you, Kelly.
Right.
I wouldn't have known if I hadn't asked. Like, that's cool.
Kelly, you know, Lamar Prater is a professional musician. He's 85.
It doesn't surprise me because he was dang good back then. That doesn't surprise me, but no, I did not know that. So that I'm actually thrilled for him. That's
his younger brother was Marcus, but we had some really good. Tracy Devine.
Yeah.
What Tracy play? She played clarinet.
Flute.
Oh, flute. Mm-hmm. Beth Sadler played clarinet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Diane Green, a lot of my friends were in the band because
Melissa
we spent so much time. Yeah. We spent so much time before school in practices, and then even after school in the marching band. That really consumed our time, and that was the only thing I was allowed to do and be able to leave my front yard. So, you know, I was there.
Football games too, though. You got to go to football games,
right? Because we played at the football games. So
and that was fun.
You guys
didn't have to pay for a ticket.
Band.
That's right. The band got in for free.
So let me ask you this: so we know you band. We know you enjoyed books. Do you have a favorite author growing up or now that you if it comes out you're going to read it, or an author that inspired you?
Growing up, I love Danielle Still, but let me tell you. And Diane Green, Kirk, you mentioned Tyrone. Tyrone is married to Diane. Diane was one of my best friends growing up. She lived on the Hampton University campus at that time.
Right near Sybil.
Yes. So, and she was one of the friends who my mom would let me go spend the night at her house. And let me tell you, one of my fondest memories are getting to go to the library on Hampton Institute. I could get lost in a library. Let me tell you. Any book, it didn't matter what it was. I could sit there, and we would go oftentimes because we were doing some kind of group project or whatever. And there was a door. I'm not sure that we were even allowed up there, but we found this old rickety door, and it took you up into like this hot, dingy attic space. And it was full of old books. Reader's Digest. I guess they just ran out of space. It was the books that were out of circulation, or they just, I don't know what the books were. I would find my way up in that hot area. And I remember it being really dark up there. So maybe that was just the impression that I had, or maybe it really was dark. But I remember one day Diane came up there and she peeked her head through the door and she was like, "What are you doing up here?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, they got the best books in here." Now, Hampton Institute has a huge library, especially for a middle schooler at that time. But something about that attic space, it just comforted me, and it was super, super cool.
Wow.
So I just loved books. I loved any Redeeming Love, Francine Rivers. I love that book, but I love the classics too. Scarlet Letter, Pygmalion speaks to my heart. I'm still looking for a copy of that book. I want to own my own copy of that one, but I just love books. So just love them.
That's cool. That is cool.
Yeah. Makes me think of the old Hampton. You know, we're from Hampton, and anybody that's watching this, Hampton Institute, Hampton University is one of the most beautiful schools ever.
Yeah.
I took that for granted because I hadn't seen anything. But I used to be able to go over there. And by the way, they have it locked down pretty good. If you're walking, you can get in there. Without a car back in the 80s, they had it locked down pretty good. But that place is beautiful. And, you know, I predate myself because I moved to downtown Hampton in 1976. I had that old bridge beside the Virginia Employment Commission.
Yeah. And
I used to run. And when you got across that bridge, there's a little yacht place. And then the huge houses on the left. That's where Sybil and Diane Green lived. And Sybil Lovett, Walter Lovett, I just learned this, by the way, Rusty, was the old HI football coach. But a little funny thing that I'll put in here, and then we want to get into our favorite pop culture stuff with Kelly, is that I would strategically, when I got across that bridge and I would run in high school, I would strategically take my shirt off and I would run without a shirt. And I got catcalled.
By the girls' dorm.
I got catcalled. Oh, man, I did it on purpose. I loved it. Slow down, baby. Oh, you want to come up here and get some cold water? Hey, Ladies love Cool K. That's where LL Cool J got it from. But
Yeah.
hey, Russ, that's another thing I say up here is when you're back in Hampton Roads with the HBCUs, and I realize Howard's in DC, but I don't go to DC a lot. There were so many beautiful black girls everywhere, and I'm like,
my God.
I'm out here in Loudoun County, man. I mean, when I go home, it's really cool. But having said that, with our pop culture, and you beat into music, we love talking about music. So, and we grew up, Kelly, going to a lot of the same social functions and house parties and things like that. And our house parties were better than the movie house party. Oh my goodness, man.
We had
hilarious.
some great house parties.
Yep. And they never got busted. Never got busted, you know. But
no.
So Kelly, what's your musical memories? First concert? Now you were like me. You didn't get. Did you? What's your first concert? Doesn't matter what age.
Petra in Virginia Beach.
Okay.
I'm a joggler. You know who they are?
I know. Yeah. What's up?
So the only time I ever went to the Coliseum was for graduation.
Okay. Rusty,
my friends would be at the Coliseum handing out tracts and trying to deter people from going into okay, you know what? I'm gonna have to backtrack. I'm gonna come clean on this one. I'm gonna come clean. My actual first concert, I just realized this, was at Coliseum. So I did see a concert there with Roger Williams. I had asked my mom to go to this concert and she had said no.
84, 85.
That's all right. I'm gonna get you a ticket anyway, and we'll just go to dinner and we'll go to the concert, and no biggie. Stupid me, I leave the ticket in the concert ticket in my car, and of course my mom finds it, and I got in big trouble. But I was like, well, I was 17 or so, and I'm trying to think of who. That was the very first time I'd ever seen anything like people doing a lighter. People were smoking weed behind me. I'm looking over my shoulder like, oh my gosh, I have gone to HELL. I am in so much trouble.
Right.
I couldn't even.
But you don't remember the concert?
Excuse me?
You don't remember the concert, the band?
I'm trying to think. It was it wasn't Judas Priest. That was his favorite.
So Roger Williams, who's in San Antonio, graduate of Notre Dame. Hey, Roger, at about 51 minutes, we need you to tune in and tell us what concert that was. So
okay,
mine was Duran Duran in '83.
Okay.
But officially, I saw a flock of seagulls and Bo Diddley at Busch Gardens in '81. All right, Rusty, you.
That counts.
So when I was really, really young, when they were the Jackson 5, it was probably more my parents wanting to go because, so I was probably 5 or 6. I remember seeing the Jackson 5, but then years later, my mom took me, my brother, my cousins to see Michael Jackson. I think we were like going in the 7th grade. So that was probably like 82, 81, 82. And Stacey Lattisaw opened up for Michael Jackson. And I had the biggest crush on her. And she sang that song.
Never knew love like this before. Oh,
no,
on a two-way street.
On a two-way streend. And her little brother was in the background going, highway. And then Michael Jackson came out, and that's the only concerts I think I've ever been. I've been to so the other way I saw concerts is I sold cotton candy at the Hampton Coliseum. And because of that, I got to go to the Jazz Festival a couple of times selling cotton candy.
Oh,
the Jazz Festival had awesome artists. A lot of people don't know about that because that's not as big anymore, is it, Rusty? They still have it. The Hampton Jazz Festival.
They still have it.
It used to be huge,
but no, I still know people like it's on their calendar every year.
Yep. Okay.
So let's try to transition to a couple of things like we did with band. Let's go a little bit. Let's find out a little bit more about Kelly, like what you're into today, or just pop culture things. And I'll kick it off by asking. We know you like to read, but do you have a favorite movie, or is there something you like to watch on TV, or is anything you're streaming currently that are you into some of that? I know for me, once COVID hit, I didn't watch a lot of television before, but once COVID, I got into, the Tiger Kings and all the Netflix type stuff. What about you? Do you do any of that?
Okay, I'm going to sound like the biggest nerd, but growing up, we didn't have a TV and I wasn't allowed to watch movies. So it doesn't really do it for me. Now, we do watch TV. I probably got 5 in this house, but I'm not like, This Is Us is probably the closest to like being in love with a show. Like, oh man, I'm connecting with the show. I love This Is Us. So I've watched that one. I've watched other shows through, but usually it's one that maybe my husband chose or somebody recommended. I have a friend at work who, and I make a joke, his name is Hutch. And so I got this list that says Hutch's viewing recommendations. And it's a piece of paper sitting at my television because inevitably on Friday night, pizza night, we want to watch something. I'm like, okay, we got 500 channels. There's got to be something here I want to watch. Right. So I literally will look at his recommendation and be like, well, Hutch said this.
I have a friend just like that. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Question for Rusty, because this is a female guest. Do you truly like rom-coms, chick flicks, romantic comedies? Truly? You don't?
But I watch them to support my wife.
Now, Kelly, I'm not trying to be popular. I love them. My favorite is My Best Friend's Wedding with Julia Roberts, the good-looking dude. It's either Dermot Mulroney and Cameron Diaz. Such a funny movie. Failure to Launch.
Yeah.
Made in Manhattan. I could name them all day. I love romantic comedies. Love them. Some of them are bad, but I really do. I like them.
I think Leah is The Notebook and
they all like The Notebook. I haven't seen that.
Tom Cruise and Megan. You've Got Mail.
You've Got Mail. Oh, Sleepless in Seattle is another great one.
Yeah.
Kelly.
Oh, yeah, that's another one.
Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. What about like Say Yes to the Dress, 90 Day Fiance, any of that?
Definitely yes to the dress. Now, I don't have a whole lot of time.
Feminine, by the way.
What's that?
I've watched it. I'm not quite that, but I do like the 90 Day Fiance.
My daughter is into fashion and all of that. She got her degree in fashion and product merchandising or something like that. So that was definitely a show that we would binge watch, and she would give all kinds of tips on why she disagreed or why she agreed or whatever. So that was definitely something that I enjoy doing with her. Something that I would probably turn on just if I had 15 minutes, 30 minutes to kill if I was eating lunch or whatever. But nowadays, I hate to sound ridiculous, but my TV is so dang fancy that just finding the channel that I want to watch a particular show on, it's like my 15 minutes, 30 minutes is up, and all right, I got to move on with my day.
Oh, especially when you go to somebody else's house and you don't know if they don't have a universal remote and all that good stuff. But what about movie? You got to have a favorite movie.
I would have to say the Phantom of the Opera, which I had the pleasure of seeing live on stage in London, and it was fantastic. I mean, when the chandelier came crashing down over the audience, that just blew my mind. But seeing the movie, it was so well written, and it explained so much of the backstory that I never really understood about the Phantom and just the whole thing. I love that movie. And that's a movie that I would just go into our media room and turn off all the lights, just watch it on the big screen all by myself. Once my son showed me how to use the remote.
Got it. Now, cool. I do know that Kelly is active. She was active in the Dallas Virginia Tech Alumni Association, and there's a Panama City. You always watch the Hokies, right?
Always. Even when we were in Germany, we would get up at 3, 4 in the morning and have a Hokie watch party with whoever was there, either from the opposing team or a Hokie fan, or just really whoever would come. Yep. I was gonna say we're partiers, but we're not partiers in that sense. We're just like, hey, come on.
Y'all can party. Don't downplay that. Y'all know how to throw a party. We've had some parties, but all right. So let's get back to our sports route real quick. I've got the Virginia Tech schedule up. We've got 10 games. So Kelley Rene, going to be a household name after this podcast. What are the Hokies going to go this year? We got 10 games.
Oh, well, come on. It's got to be 10. Well, I mean, we're
they have 12. They should have 12 games. It should be 12.
I'm reading 10, 11, 12. Sorry about that. How many wins, Kelly?
Are we going for realistic or hopeful?
Whatever you want.
Well, I want to win them all. I mean,
I know you want to win them all, but what are we going to win?
I mean, I have put up the schedule. Who are we playing first?
Okay, let's all three do this. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right, we're at 59 minutes. Here is Virginia Tech's season, and let's see how we nail it. Coach Pry.
All right, here we go.
All right, so Virginia Tech at Old Dominion on Hampton Boulevard. Who wins, Kelly?
Oh, dang. I have to go with my Hokies, but after the bad spanking they gave us the last time, yikes. I'll be on pins and needles for that game.
All right, we are going to hand them their lunch. That's 1-0. All right, BC comes to Virginia Tech. Who do you like there? It's an 8 o'clock game. That'll be nice.
Oh, yeah, we got them.
Okay, so we're 2-0. Yep. Wofford at Virginia Tech, we are 3-0.
3-0.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
We got West Virginia at Lane Stadium on a Thursday night. Should be electric on national television.
That's going to be a good game.
Yeah, they just put out, by the way, Virginia Tech put out $34 tickets for that game, and the allotment sold out in 2 days, less than 2 days. I got us 4-0. Everybody with 4-0? It's got to be 4-0, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Virginia
West
Tech.
Virginia?
Yeah,
no.
Yeah.
Okay. West Virginia? You got them winning West Virginia?
Yeah. It's at Tech.
Okay.
At night.
Yeah, I don't care.
It'll be electric.
They took an L.
All right. You think who's going to take an L?
Tech.
Okay. So, all right. Kelly and I as Hokies are going 4-0. You're going 3-1. All right. Tech at North Carolina.
All right, Hutch. He's my huge North Carolina fan in my life, but I can't go for North Carolina. So.
Well, I don't want to go for North Carolina either, but we upset them last year when they were ranked number 10. They got a lot of talent going back. So I got us 4-1. I got us losing to Carolina. Who you got, Rusty? Kelly's got us 5-0.
3-2. I got us 3-2.
Okay, 3-2.
I got the faith.
Tech at Pitt. You got to go with Pitt. Pitt is strong.
Defending conference champ.
All right.
So I got us at 4-2. Kelly's going to have us at what? 6-0. You like us in Pittsburgh?
I have us 3-3.
I don't think we can hang with Pittsburgh, unfortunately.
Okay, so you got us 5-1. I got us 4-2, and you got us 3-3, Rusty. Miami at Tech, you got to go with the Hokies there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Miami's just not holding up in the bargain.
All right, that's consensus.
They've got, like us, they've got a new coach who's back in like he played there and he's had success. So, but I still think this is
in Blacksburg.
Yep.
All right, now I think this is our rubber match. This is the game that's going to be big for the year.
NC State is good.
Virginia, they're always good. Virginia Tech at NC State. All right, now here, let's not play. Who do we think is going to win that? Kelly?
I mean, saying NC State feels so painful coming out of my mouth. I don't know that I can say it, but all right, I'm a realist as well as a faithful one. So, okay. All right.
Okay, so you're picking NC State. I'm picking NC State. Mr. Byrd. Okay, Hokie Nation, all you players out there, all you guys on the football team, all the staff, we're picking against you. All right, so we've got
I got them 4-4. Let's go. Georgia Tech.
All right. And then Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech.
We're going to go on a 3-game winning streak.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech we're going to beat. Duke we're going to beat. Liberty we're going to beat. And UVA to close out the year with the win.
We'll beat UVA.
We just finished.
We'll beat UVA because it's at Tech.
Okay.
UVA is better this year.
And look,
right, but you guys stop talking smack on Facebook and just let it happen, Kirk.
So it's going to see what the true test will be. Will our fans
hang in
stick
there
with the team if they start out 3-3, 4-4? Because if they can stick with us, and I think they will, we can finish strong. I love the back end of our schedule.
Yeah.
Yep. I like 8-4.
Okay.
Yeah. And and I think if you asked anybody before this season, would you take 8-4 with the new coach? we'd say yes.
You know what? I'm actually going to go 9-3. I don't see us losing 4 games. So there we go. Kelley,
Okay.
if I have us 9-3, you must have us at 10-2.
Sure.
All right. And Rusty, you got us at what? 8-4 or 7-5?
8-4. 8-4.
What I say, Pitt and North Carolina. I'm writing this down so I can remember. We said it.
Kelley, we're writing this down.
You don't need to write it down, Kelley. You just watch the video. We'll get us another view and some view time.
There you
go.
Okay.
No, because when he's wrong, he's going to edit this part out.
I don't do that.
That's
all
great.
right. So it's www. Kelley, EY, Rene, RENE. We'll overlay that. All of her books are there. Give it a try. But you can get Audible. Go ahead.
I did want to say, can you give us because a 2-minute, maybe summary of each of the books? I just like to know, so our viewers know you have these
genre.
Books, you have at least 3 or 4 books, but just tell us the books, something about them.
So I have 3 ebooks. Those were the books that were inspired by true events while I lived in Germany: Saving Sabine, Romanian Runaway, and Camila. Those are all based on true stories. Those are an ebook on Amazon. I have the anthology, Next Chapters Unleashed, which is a fantastic book because most anthologies have some kind of specific genre, and this one is cross-genre. And what is really cool about that is if you wouldn't normally read a dystopian or a thriller or something, of course you could choose to skip it, but why not, I guess, dip your toes in something that you might actually enjoy it. It's a very well-written book. I had a fantastic time being a part of that project and met some really good authors. And it's international, by the way. The 15 authors who participated are from around the globe. So that's another cool thing. Another project that I worked on, and I don't know if you can see it in the screen, it's called Embrace the Journey. And I have to give a shout out to Kirk, because when this book went live, we really wanted it to be a bestseller, and we were so close. I think we were like at number 3 on Amazon. And I text Kirk and I was like, Kirk, I need your help. We're so close to number 1 bestseller. Can you get on the horn and like do your thing and tell people about our book? And no lie, the book went number 1 that night before.
Wow.
I could sell ice to Eskimos. All you athletes, none of y'all are watching right now. Your moms are probably watching, but if we ever want to do a little NIL and all that stuff, I could be good at that. But yeah, we can make those things happen. Yeah. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So you didn't ask me the one question that I wanted to answer.
I was going to bring up something else, but go ahead.
Well, you say, who's the coolest person you can text and get a reply? Well,
I was going to ask that.
Because here,
this is going to be fun.
So I have it. I wish I could find it right now. I don't want to take up the time, but I have recordings on my voicemail of Kirk calling me, singing happy birthday, singing
my voicemails.
My husband's like, wait, what? Is he your online boyfriend? So I was like, okay. But I mean, everybody needs that person in your life who calls and is like, hey, you having a good day today? And I can always count on Kirk. So you are that person who I am so happy that I can text and be like,
that's right.
I need some encouragement today. Say something nice to me.
That's it.
Cool. All right. And then one of those outside the box questions. We all grew up not rich. Say that. You just got $5 billion. Okay. You had some long lost aunt that you didn't know about, left you $5 billion. What are you doing with that money, Kelley?
I think we would all agree that we need some unity in our country. And I'm not just talking about, okay, let's talk about it. Let's do something. And I like to throw a good party. The joke in my family is, if mama's throwing a party, it's going to be a good party. I don't hold back anything. I want to do something with that money that promotes community. And I'm not talking about one neighborhood over here or one neighborhood. I want to bring people together. Living abroad changed my whole world. Meeting other people who were so different. I mean, no lie. The first year I was like, I don't think I'm going to last very long living here. It was too weird. It was too hard. And I'm not even talking about skin color. There were so many different things. It was hard. It is hard. So if I had the money, I would promote community advocacy. We need to bring people together. We need to do more fun things like this, because at the end of the day, we're literally talking about a slight variation, a hue of who's got a little bit more suntan. Yep. I mean, is that the most bizarre thing? When you really sit and think about it, it is so bizarre, because I've had some traumatic experiences in my life, and the color of the person's skin made no difference in how they treated me. And I think we need to get past this whole notion of we are looking. Now, I'm in Toastmasters. I've mentioned that. And the rule of thumb is you have 7 seconds to make a good impression. 7 seconds. We are summing one another up in 7 seconds. So my money's going on helping people not only be better. I want people, if they were born in a poor neighborhood and they have to stay in their front yard because their mom's too afraid for them to leave the street. All right, what can we do about that? What, all right, let's talk about it. Okay, let's put this money towards what is needed to change our community, change our city, change our states, change our outlook on life and people. And just, it sounds so cliche, I think. We are here on this earth with other people to learn to get along with others and to learn to love. The greatest of all things.
That's it. That's the number one thing.
Outstanding.
Nothing else matters.
Right. Love your neighbor.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Love your God.
Right.
Love
so
your neighbor.
That would be that is absolutely great. I will say this. Speaking of the military, like my dad was military, but we grew up in a very military heavy area. Like we had Air Force, right? The Navy's across the water, but we had Fort Eustis, Fort Monroe, Langley. And I'll say this: although we were in the South, I think because we had those military families, and I know when you have that, it's like race doesn't matter as much. You're moving, you're experiencing different things. And so although we were in the South, I felt like, and we're kids of the 70s and the 80s, like I thought that race wasn't as big or bad of a thing where we were. I also feel like, we grew up basically, all I knew was black and white. That's
there was not a lot of multicultural.
Right. But I know now from my kids, where we live, there's everything. In my neighborhood, I look at them like our neighborhood when we first moved here was a majority white and some black, but now it's very brown. And I love it, so whether that's Middle Eastern, Latino, whatever, and my kids' school. And so not only the different races, but different religions. And we're learning to live and do those things if we just open our eyes and we and just realize we're just people. Just all,
Yeah. Well, we are hitting I don't know what we're hitting, about an hour 15. We can talk, but I would
stuff to say.
I was just going to say this, that I've realized in this information age is that there is such a thing as too much information. And there's a lot of false information, and a good part of the information is that we're finding out that we are pawns of the media, and media is driven by commerce. So if you want to look at, okay, who's going to sell more iPhones, who's going to sell more beer and pizza or whatever, it's going to be something controversial. I will tell you, the news for me, the best news is, that's why I got my Hulu, is news in the morning, because people don't want to hear, they don't want to hear in local, they don't want to hear bad stuff. So they got people throughout the community saying good things about, what an elementary school is doing and all that. And then I'm at an age now where I don't need to be right anymore. I like being wrong, because when I'm wrong, I learn. And as far as all of these issues that are dividing us, I want to experience the world as opposed to having, big corporations that you know, last election, and I'm not going to talk politics because this girl and I have talked them. I don't really talk them anymore. But I told my son, I said, the old Who song, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. We don't get fooled again. We're in a system where we're being trained. So that's the one thing that I do like about when we grew up with those 3 TV stations and we started with AM radio is I think we were able to think for ourselves and there was a lot more civility. And I like your idea about getting back to that. And, you know, I think even though we are going through some very trying times, it's also, you know, pain is usually growth. So, and you said you weren't finished. So I want to let you go because I know you always got something to say.
Well,
I just want to say one thing, Kirk. I'm glad you're comfortable with being wrong because most of your sports takes are wrong. That's all. I just want to put that out there. Go ahead, Kelly.
I was just going to say, you know, we're all people trying to make it through this life. And when we see people for who they are, I can't tell you the number of times when someone looked at me and thought, oh, she's XYZ. They summed me up in their 7 seconds and didn't know who I was. But then once we got to know each other, I've actually had people tell me, wow, you're a much nicer person than I thought you were. Now that may be some reflection of who I am, but we had to stop not seeing people as people. We are all people and we all have a story. We all have a history, problems, issues. We all have reasons why we act the way that we do and say the things that we say. But let's come together. And even in our disagreements, see, that's the thing that bothers me the most, because I want people to know that even if my politics aren't on point with yours, I can love you just the same. I can have a conversation and be okay in my skin with what I believe and value you in your skin and what you believe. And that's okay. We don't have to feel so threatened by other people and their backstory and wherever they come from, whatever that looks like for them, and feel uncomfortable about that. Because while I believe America really is the greatest country, we got some issues and we need to address them. And it's going to start in the community. It's not something that our government is just going to be able to fix. If it doesn't start in our community, it's not going to start. It's dead on arrival, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we're facing a lot of new problems and issues because of technology has changed culturally, racially, and religiously. The United States being in the technology business, I can tell you that the United States was not prepared for this explosion. India as a country planned better. So, you know, your low-end coding that's done is done offshore. You know, that's like your low-end manufacturing. Your high-end coding is done here. And guess what? That's why all those HB1 visas are needed. And we're getting people from all over the world. We're getting people all over the world, and there's lots of different cultures, and you know it's going to be interesting 2nd and 3rd generation what this country is going to look like and how it's going to change. I happen to think, my son told me this, do you know who the first person to utter the words "we're doomed by the next generation"? Who's the first person that ever said that? Just swag. It was Plato. That's what that came from. We're doomed. So I think we're actually fine with this generation. I think this generation is going to do tremendous things. They're going to take care of us because in another 10 years, we're not going to be running things. Our kids are going to be running things. And I think that it is an opportunity. And, you know, we're learning a lot right now. And I'm actually seeing some civility get back into things. So, you know, it has been an interesting time, but that's one of the things I loved growing up in Hampton, because you met a lot of people from the military that were from all over the place. And then you also met, it seemed like there were so many New Yorker transplants too, Rusty and Kelly. All these people, the New York just goes everywhere. And then, you know, people from the South, a lot of people came there for the shipbuilding jobs. That was really, really, really big. in the job market. So I always tell people I value growing up there. You know, it's different than here, but people are nicer. They're down to earth. It's gotten very busy down there, but it's nowhere near as busy as here. And you've been in Dallas, and Dallas is crazy. And you know, it's more laid back. People are kinder. And again, the military, I believe that military, it's like, hey, it brings people together. So we wax poetic. As our guest, you want to cover anything else? We let you brag about your children. She's got an extremely good-looking husband. And my story is, we were at a memorial service for one of our friends, right? And we all wanted to be there to support him. And we're just kind of hanging out. You know, it's quiet and all this. And we're just sitting there. And I look at Steve and I said, Steve, you look really good. You've aged well, right?
Oh, no.
She says,
why do you love this story so much?
She's like, what about me? And I'm like, no, I'm like, are you serious? How many times have I told you how beautiful you are inside and out? Over and over. And I said, you won't even let your husband take a compliment. I'm telling you, your husband is good looking, and you're not even letting the guy have a comment. That's what she was talking about, one of those funny voicemails. I didn't catch her, and I told her about that. But no. But anyway, Kelley, it's great having you on. This is fun. No expectations. We're not on live TV. You know, love to have you back on. And we've talked about your website, so that's all clear. Everybody knows where. Go ahead, try a book out. If you like it, try more. And then for those still listening, the Kirk and Byrd Show on YouTube. And you can check us out. Just Google us. We're on Audible. We're on Spotify. We are definitely on Amazon, and you can listen to us there. Any parting words, Kelley Rene from Panama City? Are y'all Central Time?
We are Central, yes.
Okay.
We're right on the edge.
All right. We're closing early tonight, Rusty.
Yeah.
We've been on this streak where we're getting ready to get off at 12:02.
Wow.
And I got to go to bed.
Yeah.
So Kelley, before you call, I just want to say something. I don't know if you know, but I'm a senior budget analyst in the federal government, and I was just crunching some numbers. And based on what I found, you can do with your platform for bringing us together for $2 million. With your remaining $3 million, do you think you could loan a brother some $3 billion? Your remaining $3 billion, could you loan me like $1 billion while you still, put forth your platform of togetherness and getting this world straight? I'm just saying, I just did the numbers. I think if you could just loan, I really think I could do something with it, and promoting the show.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm your girl.
And
I just want to, sorry, Kurt.
Go ahead.
I was just going to encourage your viewers, because I just want to hammer home this whole idea that if you need encouragement, it's out there. Whatever you feel like you may have missed out on in your life, you're not alone. There are other people who perhaps life just didn't give them the opportunity that maybe they had hoped for, but it's never too late. So if there's something that you want to do, well, then go out and do it. If it costs a lot, well, then get a job or set aside some funding to pay for it. Do whatever it takes to fill that burning desire in your heart, because the world needs it. That's obviously your passion while you're here. Don't table it any longer. Do it.
Absolutely. And
amen.
Technology is a big enabler. For anybody that does not know Gary Vaynerchuk, he's a kid from New York City. He's a Belarusian immigrant. He's going to own the Jets one day. He's close to being a billionaire. All the kids know about him, but he motivationally speaks, and I listen to one of his best, and I can never find this. My son turned me onto this. He's talking to a group of kids in Harlem that are underprivileged, and he basically tells them, you know what? It may not sound like it now, but you coming from where you're coming from, you've got an advantage. And he said the advantage of this is you're going to come out of here underprivileged with a chip on your shoulder, and you're going to be more driven. And I will say this, Kelly, I grew up extremely poor also. And I always felt money solved problems. And people with money, in my definition of people with money, has changed quite a bit. They didn't have problems. Well, as Biggie said, more money, more problems. Man, these people with a lot of money, they really got it going on. They just hide it. So a lot of the things that you're talking about, Kelly, are absolutely true. These therapy commercials that Michael Phelps does them, Rob Lowe has a great one. He goes, I teach my kids, don't compare your insides to everybody else's outsides, because, you know, we are taught to be impressive. We are taught society. I've got to be an alpha male. You know, I've got to be an earner. I've got to do this. I've got to do all these things. Women have all these different pressures and some of the same similar pressures. And the bottom line is, at least we are starting to talk about mental health. We're starting to talk about depression, anxiety. You know, we're starting to talk about some of the pervasive problems. And the bottom line is everybody has them. You know, we've got alcoholism, we've got addiction, we've got all kinds of mental health issues. We have things that have been going on since the very beginning of time. And, you know, I would say this. Don't compare yourself to anybody else, because everybody else is taken. Just be yourself. And then I remember one time I was going through a very, very difficult time, and a very good friend said, stop comparing yourself to everybody else. And I always say this, if you're swimming and you're a great swimmer, right, and you're a really good swimmer, but you look over to the next lane and Michael Phelps is there you go. That's why you got to stay in your swim lane and do your thing. And Kelly, you are absolutely right. It is never too late. We're going to have you on here in 10 years when you've got a publishing company. We're going to buy in early with 10-cent options. And we laugh, but you know what? You think about some of the things that are going on 10 years ago, just 10 years ago. Yeah. Think about that.
Yeah.
Some of the things. There's a Google, okay? There is a Tesla. There are companies out there like that that are going to be household names that are going to be founded by people, and we're going to be doing some incredible stuff. So with that, we are going to close. My background, I just want to tell you, in January of 1987, this world changed with that album. Yeah. That's the Joshua Tree, my #1 album. Yeah. I remember Where the Streets Have No Name is the first song. With or Without You is the second song. Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For is the third song. This is the good old days of albums where you know every song. That's the album of my life. So, Kelly, thank you so much for coming on. We don't care that we went too long. All right. So we know now we are going to get at least 10,000 people to watch this, and we're going to get some sponsors. We'll get Anna's Pizza, Buckrow Shopping Center. That'd be a good one. There we go. All right. So let's take it out on Thursday night, and everybody be blessed. Kelly, it's been so much fun. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Sorry we missed each other in Panama City Beach, but I will definitely be back in Tallahassee. I'll come see you
next time. Yep. Thank you.
And a game in Blacksburg. All right, Kelly?
Would love that.
All right.
Win. Oh, yeah. Yep. Okay. Thank you. Look, it's been a blessing meeting you. You definitely have that whole, I can tell, you've got that Hampton in you. I can tell, like, you just are genuine. You know, sometimes when when you get outside of something that people are putting on this, you're for real. And I think our audience, I know I've learned a lot from you, and I just think you're pretty cool to be, even though you're a phantom. But Hokie wise, you're great. All right, good stuff. Thank you, Kelly. Kirk, I appreciate you, bro, all your insight, and love you, dude. Look, let's continue to keep this thing going, and we appreciate you again. This has been Kirk and Byrd. We are out.